What is going on, everybody? It's NothingButSkillz, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Title Update 9. They just announced it during the State of the Game today. Yes, we had a State of the Game over on Twitch and on YouTube. Ubisoft holds this every Wednesday, and they announced that Title Update 9 will be coming out on April 21st. So what we'll be doing is we'll be grabbing a bunch of highlights from the State of the Game and making it in a short, condensed version, as I always do for you guys. So let's dive into the first topic, Title Update 9.
Big things that you need to know straight off the bat. TU9 is coming real soon. Chris, give us a date.
Yeah, so it's April 21st. Next week, Tuesday, is the release date. During the normal, usual maintenance window, we're planning to deploy that. And yeah, patch notes, we're working on them. I'm working on them right now. Will be hopefully be available on Monday already. So keep an eye out on our official channels. We want to give you a little bit of a heads up. Obviously, there's some balance changes coming in and stuff like that. Just to have something to read. And they're, you know, from what I can tell, quite extensive as well in terms of bug fixes. So definitely going to give them to you as early as we can. Title Update 9 is a patch that is a client patch. It will have to be downloaded from your platform when it's live on Tuesday. This is also special because we don't do client patches as often as we do server-side patches. The difference is, for example, in these client patches, we can also make UI changes. So any text changes, any things that, you know, like, for example, some of the exotics will have changes to their functionality. To explain them properly, they have to be shown in the UI, they have to be localized and all that stuff. The text, I mean, so therefore, this is a special update because of that. Additionally, we talked about some of the things that are going in. I'm just going to look at my notes here over to not miss anything. But basically, it will have some balance passes on exotics. That's what we talked about, I think, 3 weeks ago now. They're also publicly available on the forums. We'll have some more changes that we'll add to the patch notes, obviously, once I have everything ready and publish them. But we wanted to talk some hard hitters, some bug fixes that have been, you know, very important to the community. So one of them is we finally are able to fix the Angel of Mercy contaminated area. That was something that players couldn't do because basically the entrance was blocked. So the Angel of Mercy contaminated area is one of those things that we only can fix with a client patch because we actually have to touch data, and therefore it's not possible to just do during normal maintenances where we do server fixes, for example. And then I know that's something that has been tagged to me a couple of times, that the Nemesis doesn't trigger the focus talent, for example. That's also going to be fixed for that specifically. And then we talked about this 2 weeks ago, that focus doesn't, or that focus triggers when you use the Crusader shield, but you don't scope in. So that's also going to be changed. You'll actually just be able to scope in with a shield. So that functionality is finally there then as well.
Okay, I'm assuming that happens for all levels of Zoom. We were chatting about this
Yes.
before the stream. Actually, we talked about this a few weeks ago when Bruce was on. And not necessarily that it was, I think Bruce said it was unintended, but it's not, it's just kind of one of those overlooked, undesigned things. And
exactly.
it just ended up being crazy powerful, especially with that classic M1A.
Additionally, we also have some more things for gear sets. For example, the poker face of Aces on 8s not working properly. That's going to be in there. And then one thing that I want to point out, because again, it's exactly why we need these client fixes. The booster hive description has been wrong since the launch of the expansion. There was an oversight on the text update. So now it will correctly state that it delivers a stimulant that is increasing weapon damage and handling, because currently it just still says it delivers speed, which it doesn't do. Yeah, and other than that, we talked about this a little bit again 2 weeks ago. Exotic changes, we also are looking at gear changes. We talked about best in slot and all that stuff. And before I don't have the exact numbers yet, so I didn't want to linger onto that for too long. But we obviously make sure that we have everything in the patch notes to explain exactly what changes. And then also some underperforming talents and weapons will be buffed, as Bruce pointed out. One last thing that I wanted to say before we move on to the topic of Nikki's talk is obviously we're also seeing a lot of people tell us about PvP, and feedback is really, really appreciated. We have people here at Massive working on that. We're trying to get that out as well.
So we should have a full list of the patch notes for Title Update 9 early next week. So as soon as we get that, I'll give you guys a full breakdown of that. But some good changes coming, and they also ended it with PvP. They are looking at it. They want to hear your feedback. So make sure you guys give them your feedback on PvP. And finally, they get into exotics. That was the big topic they really focused on, how you re-roll them, how it actually works. And this is what I really want you guys to pay attention to. So let's get into it.
With the U9, we've done a change to make sure that when you do find an exotic, it will always be of the highest tier. So regardless of the difficulty that you play, the rolls will always be always have the highest minimum. That doesn't mean that they're God rolled, of course, but that means that they're at least decent and way better than what you would find or could find on normal or hard or something like that. So that's just to make the experience of finding one at least a little bit more enjoyable.
Right.
And then the second part is the reconfiguring, which is basically a repurposing of the upgrade functionality that we had before, and that we kind of didn't add to Warlords for several reasons that I won't go into again. We've talked about it before, but did want to bring back at some point to let people sitting on level 30 exotics to make those useful again. So first of all, the reconfiguring does that. When you do reconfigure an exotic, it's basically the first part is the upgrading part. So you can upgrade any level of exotic to level that you are currently at. So that means you can now turn level 30s into level 40s.
Nice. I'm just bringing up the first image that we have here. Do you have this up on your screen, Nikki?
Yep.
Cool. Can you talk us through what we're seeing?
Yeah, so the upgrade section in the crafting bench UI has made room for the reconfigure section. And it just shows you all of the blueprints that you have to reconfigure. And the upgrade blueprints that you already had will be turned automatically into reconfigure blueprints. And the ones that you are missing can still be purchased from Inaya as soon as you are in the possession of the exotic that the blueprint is for. And of course, we'll be adding blueprints for all of the exotics that launched with Warlords as well.
Okay, all right. So let's say, we're just moving on to the next phase of this. Let's say I have a Bullet King that, the rolls aren't looking great on it. What do I can just reconfigure it? What does that mean? Yeah,
so the second part of reconfiguring is the re-rolling part. So instead of recalibrating one stat, we want you to be able to get a better version of the exotics in all stats. So what this does, the reconfiguring, is basically re-rolling the entire exotic and assigning new values that are appropriate for the level that you're turning it into. And will always guarantee a pretty high minimum as well. So it's still like a range of things, but it's going to be at the upper end. And it's going to be higher than whatever you find the exotic at. But of course, there's also a risk to it that if you have a pretty decent exotic, then the re-rolling can turn it into something completely worse, or one stat that is lower than what you wanted it to be. But that's basically what it does. Create a new version of your exotic at your level with a minimum overall power. So basically, the step of upgrading something from level 30 to 40 is just skipped if you already have a level 40. It's just the secondary parts to what is now this feature, but it was the major part, the major feature of the upgrading before, but now is just an extra step that happens when you try to reconfigure an exotic. So you can do it with a level 30, it will become a level 40 with good rolls. You can do it with a level 40. And the rolls will change compared to what that level 40 was before.
The other question that I saw from It's Just Hop was, can you reconfigure the same exotic twice?
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of the whole thing, where you can keep retrying to get a better version of the exotics that you already have.
Here's another good question, actually. What if I have a god rolled level 30 exotic? It's not going to retain that god roll, correct?
No, the exotic that you use to reconfigure doesn't retain any of its information. It basically creates a new exotic for you for the blueprint that you're using. But also the stats for a level 40 item are just higher than a level 30. So eventually you'll want those rolls to be higher in general. And then they won't be the value of the god rolled 30, but they can end up higher.
Cool. Someone's asking, is it like the recalibration station? Not really, because it's not the same. Right.
No, the recalibration station only allows you to override basically one attribute of an item.
Yeah.
And the exotics don't really fit into that mold because they're excluded from recalibration because they are supposed to be they're static, right? Like all of the attributes and the talents are predefined. Mm-hmm. And recalibration lets you override one of those things into another thing. So that's why they both, from a design point of view and from a technical point of view, didn't really fit into that. And we wanted you to be able to get a better overall version instead of being limited to just one stat. So it is more random, but it has the possibility for better results.
I've seen some questions in the chat about the level 1 exotics. I don't know if you can talk about them, how they will work, because I know that there's currently also a little bit of confusion around if you have a level 30 lullaby, for example, you want to change it,
right.
It doesn't get upgraded. It actually goes to level 30 or stays at level 30 because there's no upgrade right now.
Yes.
Can you talk about the level 1s and also the level 30s once Q9 is out?
Yeah, I think the level 1s are pre-order bonuses. So they are excluded from this system because they do require one that you actually found in the game instead of got from a purchase you made.
Okay.
But regarding the conversion, that limitation of only going to level 30 is now also gone. So doing a conversion from a Sweet Dreams into a Lullaby actually makes it a level 40 Lullaby. And the same for Ruthless and Merciless. But of course, they still have their own Reconfigure blueprints as well. So after the conversion, you can still use their specific Reconfigure blueprints to re-roll the specific one.
One question that does it also work for exotic gear? I think that's just all exotic items. It's not just limited to weapons, I assume, right?
Yeah.
It works for all of the exotic weapons and gear, including the crafted exotics. Actually, when you now craft, or you could already use the crafted exotic blueprints to get level 40 exotics, but their Reconfigure blueprints will now also allow you to re-roll those.
So that was a lot of detail on how we're going to be able to re-roll exotics, and even if you have the Ruthless or the Lullaby, you can upgrade those with a level 30, level 40 Sweet Dreams, and then hopefully you can upgrade that all the way up. So you should be able to upgrade every single exotic gear, and weapons will be able to be re-rolled. That was something new that they're adding to Title Update 9. I'm excited to see these changes. Let me know what you guys think about it. We're going to wrap up the video here, guys. I will see you guys in the next Division 2 video. But until then, guys, Nothing But Skills is out.